Hello, welcome everybody. SF Live, episode number 29. My name is Kai Hoffman. I'm the CEO of the Soar Financial Group. Today I'm joined by Bradley Langille. He's the president and CEO of GoGold Resources, a company I've known for a long time and I've done some work with in the past. And I'm extremely excited to have him on, talk about the Los Ricos and the Parral projects in Mexico. But before we get started, we're going to remind you real quick, this is an interactive format. You know that by now. So use hashtag AskGGD. That's the company's ticker for your questions during this live stream. We'll get to those at the end of our conversation with Brad. And also make sure to follow us here on Twitter. Give us a like. Give us a follow, and also YouTube, Spotify. Make sure to follow us there so you can catch our content whenever we publish something. But enough said, let's switch over to Brad. Brad, how are you doing today? How are things, and where are you at?
Oh, good, Kai. I'm in Halifax, Nova Scotia, east coast of Canada. So here today and at home, like the rest of the world.
Yeah, well,
without a haircut.
Oh, welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. That's why I'm wearing the bit headphones, so you can't see what's underneath. Yes. It's a mess. The only thing I can control is the beard somehow. So the rest is untamable. No, working from home, like you always work from the road anyway. So like we got to talk about COVID, obviously, get that out of the way. How has that affected your day-to-day and the company's day-to-day as well? Like, give us an update there.
Yeah, so the COVID has affected us more on the exploration side because we shut down totally our drill program at Los Ricos around the first of the month of April, and but we had 40 holes that were in the lab. We had a real backlog of holes that were waiting for assay. So those have been coming out slowly. The lab was operating kind of at half speed, so we still have a few holes left to release here, and we'll get those out in short order. Now on the operating mine at Parral, that's a heap leach, and really a heap leach, to shut down a heap leach totally would take about 1.5 years, because with a heap leach, and not in Mexico, just in Mexico, but anywhere in the world, you have ponds that receive the solution coming off the heap, and that solution has chemicals in it and metals. If you shut down the pumps, within about 10 days, those ponds would overflow because you should have more solution in the heap than the ponds can carry. So when you shut down a heap leach, what you do is you rinse the heap for about 1.5 years with your pumps on. So in actual fact, we were essential that we kept on running with those pumps. So we draw down metal out of inventory by circulating the solution around and around in our heap.
Okay. No, okay, that's interesting. So we're actually not stacking anymore right now. So you're going to start stacking again fairly soon?
We are. We're getting ready to stack again now because they've said in Mexico on May 19th that they will open up certain areas of Mexico, what they call their green zones, where there's been very limited impact of COVID-19. So both our projects actually fall within those green zones.
Often.
So we should be able to get going at it again with stacking in Parral, and also at Los Ricos, get going at drilling again.
Okay, let's stay on Parral for another minute here. So what's the production impact? Because you haven't been stacking. Like, of course, Q2 is probably not going to be affected because the cycling has been going on. But do you expect like Q3 together with the rainy season to be more impacted this year than normal? Because I think last year you got quite lucky with the rainy season.
Yeah, well, you know, we have to stack ore to keep a continual steady state, obviously. There's a couple things, though, in our favor here. One is that we are producing copper as well now. Okay. So we just finished commissioning that SART plant. So the copper production just came on stream, and we've kept the SART plant running as well. Okay. So we've continued to run copper, which is a metal that we're selling and receiving revenue for. So that'll make up some of the lost production from gold and silver. But our leach cycle is a year on our heap. So even though we have not been stacking for a month, that's pretty minimal impact. For example, I think in the month that just passed, we might have been down 10% in production, 10 to 15% approximately. And if we can get going here right away, it'll be a minimal impact on our production. Okay. So instead of 600,000 that we did last quarter, we'll see. Maybe it'll be more like 500, 525, 550, somewhere in there.
Yeah, no, that's still fair. That's still good. And as you said, like you can't shut down a heap leach plant. Like it just doesn't happen. One thing you mentioned is the SART plant as well, and you've been at it for a while. And I see that the SART plant, and help me out, maybe for our listeners as well. Like, what does a SART plant do, and what's the impact on your operation directly?
So Parral's been operating now for 6 years. It'll be 6 years in June, and it has about 8 years of reserve life ahead of it. So we have a little bit of soluble copper in the ore. So when we leach, we take out gold first, will come out, copper will leach out, and then silver leaches out. So, and we're in a closed circuit, a closed loop. We just keep on pumping that same solution around and around, and it goes through our Merrill-Crowe plant, and it extracts the gold and silver, but it doesn't really extract much of the copper at all. So the copper levels over the last 6 years have really started to build up in the circuit. A good level to run with copper would be about 500 ppm. And we were running around 1200 ppm copper. Okay. Yeah. So we knew that would become an issue we had to face eventually. And that's why we built the SART. So what the SART does for us is it gives us copper that we can sell. Okay. And it does that by taking the solution and dropping the pH, and the copper base metals fall out. But it gives us copper we can sell. But the real big benefit of a SART is that for every atom of copper, it binds up 4 atoms of cyanide. And cyanide is our most expensive consumable, $2,200 a ton. To give you an idea, we were using about 14 tons of cyanide a day, okay. And we turned on that SART, and now we use 8 to 9 tons a day at $2,200 a ton. Yeah.
What's the impact on the all-in sustaining cost then?
Well, our all-in sustaining cost in the just released was about $15, and it will be dropping. I mean, we are generating cash at the mine now. For example, the last quarter, even with an all-in sustaining of $15, we generated after G&A for the corporation $1,900,000 US. So, but in the accounting for a heap leach, the way it's accounted for is we have an inventory. That inventory is a 12-month inventory. So we have lots of ounces out there. And then every month we have costs. So basically one bucket is inventory, I like to think of the ounces, and another bucket every month we put the cost for that month into that bucket. So when ounces come out of the inventory, then we take a homogenized cost out of that bucket of costs that have been, accumulating over a year. So what I'm trying to say is that it will have an impact on our all-in cost, but it will be buffered, and it will take a while to see. But it should bring all in down to around $13 for silver equivalent ounce.
Because I saw something about you saving $200,000 a month, and if you're producing 600,000 ounces silver equivalent a quarter, like you can do the math. It's at least $1.
Yeah,
at least $1,
I think
right?
200 is. Yeah, you can see it with selling the copper. Pretty much pays for the operation of the plant, or it does pay for. And then if we're saving, 6 tons of cyanide a day, or even 5 tons of cyanide, that's $10,000 a day. Yeah. So that $200,000 number is a pretty conservative number. It should be 200,000 plus a month.
Got it. No, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. No, I'm glad, because I visited Parral 2 years ago. No, 2016, December 16. And we were still thinking about the SART plant at the time, and it's been a while coming. Yeah. So glad it's up and running now and showing the massive impact. So that's good to see. Now let's shift gears here, because you guys are an exploration company with a production asset behind you covering G&A. Right. So your flagship asset is Los Ricos. And when I visited you guys back in 2016, you still had Santa Gertrudis, which was your flagship back then, also an exploration asset that you got to sell to Agnico Eagle for $85 million US, if I'm not mistaken, or 95, sorry, I think. And you're following now the same plan. Give us an update on Los Ricos and what you guys been up to there.
Yeah, okay. And just to, while I do that, just to give you a real quick summary of what we've done. And our whole business has been in Mexico now for 24 years. We bought and sold. We built 3 mines, refurbished a 4th mine, and it's been in 4 companies that I've led over those 24 years, and the same group of a lot of the key people, same key technical people over that period of time. So in Los Ricos, and what we've done is over that period of time, we've bought properties, sold properties. You mentioned Sandra Gratuitous. We bought that, and if our purchase price of $11 million plus our investment was $20 million, we sold it 3 years later for $95 million. And we've also built mines at Ocampo. Our first was sold for $750 million after we built it. So we look at Los Ricos. We recognize the team is very good at development and finding these assets, and we're good at bringing the capital to them. Over the last 15 plus 20 years, we brought in about $800 million of equity into our ventures and a couple $100 million of debt. Los Ricos is simply the best asset I have had in 20 years in these companies. I have to go right back to the Ocampo times. January 1999, we entered that district. It had 56 holes. We built 2 mines there. We drilled by the time I'd left 2,500 holes. I look at Los Ricos South. That's where we started, and 60 holes. Now we're up to over 200, and we've really focused in on 1,100 meters where we see the potential for a bulk open pit at, somewhere between 900,000 and 1 million ounces is what we think potentially that the resource will be, and that's probably another 45, 60 days out. And we're just finishing that up, but that's only the start, Kai. That's one target out of tens of targets over 35 kilometers, and Los Ricos North is where we're going next, and that's very, very exciting. We announced that 60 days ago that we got the last 5 claims that we needed up there. We have those now, and we're ready to launch in Los Ricos North.
Fantastic. No, that's great. And now let me jump back real quick. What's your cutoff date for the resource estimate? Because you said you had 40 results in the lab that are slowly trickling out. And give us a number, like how many holes are still left? How many assays are still missing from holes?
We probably right now only have 4 or 5 holes missing, okay. And we're going to start up here around the 19th of the month. And we'll be going again with the drill rigs. And we had 6 operating before we shut down. So we'll gradually start firing those up again. But we probably need about another 15 to 20 holes is what we're going to do. A lot of those are pretty short holes, though. We can do them pretty quickly. And we said that we're going to have a resource out by the end of the quarter, so at the end of June. Look, with the shutdown, might need a couple more weeks on that, but the cutoff will be in June. Okay. Yeah, we'll have to cut off the resource.
I'm sure you're modeling continuously.
We have a target. Like I said, it should be in around that, around 900 1 million ounces. But we think the grade potentially will be kind of the 2.5 to 3 grams. So it should be a real premium resource on the first target.
Okay. No, that's a first pass. Like, that's fantastic. Like 1 million ounces, 900,000 million ounces. That's not bad at all. What do you expect grade to become in?
Potentially.
Like I've been looking at the press releases and just looking at Stockwatch and fairly high grades. So
yeah, we've been getting great grades, and that's why I look at this thing and I think about our first the main zone that we're talking about, Maine and San Juan, and the grades that we're getting and the widths that we're getting, and we see that. I mean, we're just scratching the surface, I believe, here on the first target, and we some great drill holes. I mean, I think probably one of the best drill holes I've drilled in my career. 21 meters of 24 grams gold equivalent, and that's only 30 meters from surface. So, but there's been just all of them, pretty much all of them have been really great drill holes. Yeah. So.
No, fantastic. And we had the discussion briefly before we started going live here, but so I noticed some of your results are given in silver equivalent and some are given in gold equivalent. And now you mentioned that you're going to have the resource come out in gold or gold equivalent. What's the identity of the company? Like, are you a silver company or a gold company?
Well, we're close to the line of half and half. We're about 60% silver and about 40% gold by value. So we are more a silver company. And personally, myself, I think that there's potentially could be more movement in the silver price. because it's really kind of out of whack right now. We're at about 110 silver to make one gold, and it's never been there before. So I think the silver price will catch up. But yes, we're more a silver company than a gold company, vis-a-vis the name GoGold. But it is what it is. We've just completed a $25 million financing that was way oversubscribed before the COVID-19 hit, and people recognize the name GoGold. It may not identify us so much as a silver company, but yes, we do have a big input here of silver.
And now, like the 60-40 split, what price did you calculate that at, or what's the rough number you have in your head? Is that current prices?
Approximately, that's a good question. I mean, it's moved around a bit here, but that was at about 85 to 1. So it's now it's 110. So a lot of the institutions that we talk to are looking for some real silver upside, and they do believe that silver's maybe even has a little more runway than gold going forward here.
How many times has Eric Sprott called you in the last week?
Eric Sprott is definitely a believer in silver, and Sprott Capital was the leader along with Pacific International and the Bank of Montreal in that financing, and certainly they're big believers in silver.
No,
sure.
He's been super active lately in the silver space, so more so than in gold, right? With Max Silver, the big investment there, and I think he took some of the silver price financing as well. So he's always been a silver bug, I think, as well. So more than a gold bug, right? And last year he was a trendsetter for the gold rally, I think. So where he got positioned early, exactly a year ago, May last year, he was one of the first ones to invest big in the gold space. So the $25 million financing, I had a question about that. Like, Los Ricos is a phenomenal asset, yet you felt compelled to issue a warrant. So I was quite curious, like, why?
A half warrant. And obviously we didn't necessarily want to, but we were offered a deal. And the investors who were the kind of the lead orders in that deal to enter our company to get into the investment, they wanted to see a half warrant, and they're very, very strong shareholders. They're the ones that all the gold companies would want on the registry, and they're a longer term players. So in the end, we weren't too concerned about the half warrant.
Cool. No, I think that satisfies it, because I think for me the main point is the sticky money behind it. So you don't see the warrants fly out in 4 weeks' time, or the shares fly out in 4 weeks' time for people to hold the warrants, which is always a big concern to me, because you're trading fairly close to the exercise price of the warrants as well. I think you're 7 cents off or something like that. So fairly close. So the marketplace has changed over the last few weeks, right? And like ever since mid-March, ever since COVID properly hit, the market is different. Like, as you said, you're sitting at home, I'm working from home. Like, how is your approach to marketing, reaching out to investors changed, and what are you doing as GoGold to catch your audience?
Yeah, we're doing a lot of this. I mean, we're talking, having these type of Skype Zoom calls with our shareholders, with people interested, with analysts, with the institutional calls. And I'm old school. I like the face-to-face. I like getting on the road and going and sitting in front of people. It's also I'm hands-on. I like to get down to the project. I'm in Mexico pretty much once every 5 weeks, or was before all this happened. But it is what it is right now. We have to we deal with it, but we're still able to get the story out there, generate interest, and our stock is actually recovered quite nicely. Everybody got just decimated when it hit here in the market a few weeks ago. We went down to 38 cents for a very brief moment. And then we recovered right up to 77, and we have lots and lots of buying interest here. And I think with everything we're doing, and now we're going to ramp back up again and get the program back in gear. We have a good runway ahead of us.
No, it sounds like it. And as you said, you got lots of news flow lined up as well. So you got the resource estimate coming out at the, let's say maybe mid-July, maybe, if right. And I think
that's a real gonna be a landmark for us. That's a real milestone. That first resource, and it is the first resource on this property for us. We think it'll be, above all, a very good quality, a substantial size resource, and good quality, as in good grade, and good mineable, bulk mineable widths potentially.
Okay, fantastic. We're sort of coming up to the 20-25 minute mark here for our program.
Sure.
So in terms of press release, like what can catalysts, other, like besides the resource that's coming out, like what are the next news events? I think drill results.
Yeah, more drill results. We still have some to release here from the lab. I think I mentioned 4. There might be 4 left in the lab after our next release. Yeah. So we have quite a few that are going to go out here imminently. Also, it's going to be really important to watch the drill releases coming from Los Ricos North. We have some great targets up there. Targets that we have most of our geological team is going to be focused up there over the coming months, and our drills are going to be focused up there over the next 12 to 18 months. I really hold very, very high potential for Los Ricos North. We probably would have been up in Los Ricos North first, except we had a deal that we had to get done, and there was 5 claims that were critical up there, and we announced that deal 60 days ago with the company out of Vancouver, and who has a change of business, and those claims, we surrounded all of them. They're kind of orphaned to them. We got that done, and now we can go full speed ahead. You're going to see a lot of news from Los Ricos North, along with the resource in Los Ricos South. Los Ricos South, we started 13 months ago. It's almost, and we're now going to have a resource. It's almost like we're starting all over again up at Los Ricos North. There's going to be just a ton of discovery up there, I believe. And it's really, we're going to showcase what my team sees, and that's that big potential up there. Probably even a lot more than Los Ricos South.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. Allow me one last question, because I forgot to drill down on that detail. You're going back to 6 rigs, and how many meters for this year?
Yeah, so we'll ramp up to 4 rigs right away. And we see over the next 12 months, what we've done, at least what we've done over the last 13 months, which was about 28,000 meters.
Okay.
And really, as those targets unfold in Los Ricos North, we'll most likely be right back to 6 rigs. And depending on the success we're having, sky's the limit. I mean, we have, over 19 million US in the bank. Last quarter, we had, after G&A, 1.9 million US of free cash flow, which paid for almost all of our exploration expenses. And don't forget, the Mexican government owes us 11.5 million US, which they will pay. We always get our VAT tax back. Yeah. And that's valued, of course, in pesos, so it changes a bit with currency exchange. The currency has helped us, though. The currency, we did our budget for Parral at 18.5 pesos, $1 US. It's at 24 now, and 50% of our costs are in pesos, so obviously our cost goes down.
Fantastic. No, that's great. Like, the cash balance is crazy. Like, I think your latest presentation from February mentions something around 47 million US in cash,
with it fully diluted.
Yeah, cash, receivables, and all that. So that's very, very strong. So, Brad, thanks so much for coming on. I think this was really comprehensive. I think we covered most points, or all the points that were important to me, at least, chatting with you. And really appreciate your time. Stay safe out there, and keep on drilling.
Yes, great. Thanks, Kai. Always good to talk to you.
Yeah, everybody else, thanks for tuning in. It was really appreciated. Thanks for watching. Make sure to follow us here on Twitter. Follow us on YouTube. Give us a like if you like our content. And as of late, we're also on Spotify, so follow us there as well for your morning jog. So take care.